Welcome. Today I will be talking about income and ways of increasing it while leveraging your sanity and happiness as much as possible. The main source of income for most people nowadays comes from their jobs in the form of their salary. Unfortunately, in today's society, where we are pretty much defined by what we do for a living, the difference between our jobs can be extremely large. By that I mean that what you do can literally be the best thing ever, give you a bunch of freedom, improve your life tremendously, or it can be a living hell. We will be talking about two real and one a bit of a cop out, but still a real way to improve your income. The real ones we'll be focusing on is one where you pretty much wholly dedicate yourself to increase a single stream of income, and another where you try to diversify and have multiple streams of income. The single stream income represents your primary job. I think you should focus on this if you have a very clear idea in your head as to what you want to do, you want to become, or what's your dream profession basically, and you think it's achievable for you. Or if you have a really clear talent you can exploit. The first step here is a very simple yet kind of elusive question. It's basically asking yourself, what do you want to do? Do you have a passion you'd like to pursue? If yes, good, that's the first step done. Then you have to think about what type of jobs already exist that still belong to that passion, that you could do and would still feel fulfilled. Or if you feel particularly adventurous, you could give it a few days to think about what jobs do not exist in that area which you could and would like to fulfill, and how you could monetize that. If you don't have a clear passion in mind yet, not to worry. In that case, the question for you would be, is there anything you're particularly good at, talented at, or just really wouldn't mind doing for your living? You're planning for decades here, so do think that through. And if yes, then you can proceed to the same job questions of what jobs are in that area and how much you can probably make from them. The next step would be to make a decision. I don't mean a really particular one. For now, it's more than enough if you just, let's say you choose marketing, then the answer is marketing. You don't need to go into extra detail. Although it does help if you make yourself a little list as to what kind of jobs fall into marketing which you would like to do and you know exists. And you can work off of that for later. The next stage will be the planning. This is where we kind of plan out our steps to reaching our dream jobs. Don't worry if you already have the idea as to what you want to achieve, especially if you have it figured out to a relatively specific level, it won't be as daunting as it might seem at first. For instance, let's take an example where you want to work for Google for whatever reason. All you have to do is, open up Google and basically just Google jobs. Or if you find looking for a job at a different company, then obviously Google the company name and some jobs to look for job listings. In Google's case, this is pretty easy. You can instantly find thousands and thousands of listings depending on where you want to work and what kind of work would you like to do. Once you're here, you're basically start looking for jobs which sound interesting to you. Let's say you choose this because it has YouTube in the title. Okay, I instantly noticed that Mexican citizenships will be required, so that's obviously something you have to decide on the spot whether that works for you. But it doesn't really matter, we're looking for the qualifications and requirements they list. You would read through this one or two pages worth of text, not that much, and basically what you're looking for is the qualifications. So obviously for this job, you may or may not need a bachelor's degree. In most jobs you will find that nowadays you can get by with or without a degree as well, depending on whether you have some kind of experience in the area. Otherwise, just write out, okay, you will need about 6 years of experience working in a similar job environment. For instance, in this case, it would be really beneficial for you if you, for instance, have a YouTube channel or know people who have YouTube channel, or you have worked as an editor for a YouTube channel. So you would write all of these out for yourself and will keep them in mind. You would need to speak Spanish for this one if you're an English speaker, and obviously you would need to speak English if you're a Spanish speaker. You can work on that too. It will just make your list and you will think about that later. You will go through preferred qualifications too. Depending on how easy it is to achieve them, you would write them down on your list, as it's basically a to-do list we're making. You would read through the job, go through different teams and what they require of you, and think about what kind of jobs would you need to do to achieve these skills. You would do the same with responsibilities, of course. So for this job, for instance, I would definitely start a YouTube channel. It seems like the obvious solution. Not only would that allow you a potential additional stream of revenue, while when you make YouTube videos, people might watch it, and if more people watch it, the better your chances of getting accepted. You earn work experience at the same time. You work at the same area you're looking for. If you do, let's say, Spanish subtitles or so, and it's good practice with the language as well, and you might even earn some money from advertisement revenues. At this point, you would just go through multiple listings the same way until you have a very clear plan, basically, as to what you need to achieve. Like, do you need a degree is what we're interested in? Do you need a specific language that's required of you in multiple of the jobs you found? Do you need some kind of specific experience, like some media or friendly relations and YouTube or technology programming, something that would really help out in getting these kind of jobs? And once you have those down, we can really begin diving into this. As for education, now that you have your list, you can pretty much see, or should be able to see, what level of degree or other kind of education would you need to do the job you wish to do. So at this stage, to avoid unnecessary debt, I would suggest not getting more than the minimum level of education, and other than that, focus on gaining the necessary experience or actual knowledge you would need to get the job you wish to have. As for gaining a job requirement and the experience on your field, that's a bit trickier, but basically you would do the same as we did with the Google experiment, just walking down a step every time. For instance, let's say you're looking for something with a tech sales requirement, then you would hit up the website of your favorite tech store nearby and you would check for openings and try to look for sales department hires for that store. If you find it good, then check out their requirements. If it's something you can do already, go ahead. You already have the first step, and you can start making your way up to your dream job. If not, if there's still more steps needed, then you would just do the same. If for that they need just normal sales experience from you, then you would just go down and search for normal sales jobs. You will definitely find some of those in your area. It can also be a really good idea to just start doing your dream job, even as a hobby, before you actually get it. It will look really good if you list it in your resume that you're actually doing it. Like, you want to be a professional photographer, then go head out into nature and just keep making photos. Try submitting them. Maybe you will get a real leap and you will be taken up much earlier than you would normally get there. If you want to be, let's say, what's really hard to do as a hobby. Let's say you want to be a doctor. That's really hard to do as a hobby. So even in that case, you can take on, if you have the money for it, rescue jobs. some kind of, let's say you go up to the beach in the summer and you will work there as a safeguard. That can be a really good step towards the direction you want to go to, and will also give you some experience how to handle the adrenaline, how to actually help people, which will be invaluable when you're actually in the hospital. The next part would be haggling for money. This is especially important if you're a new hire at a job, or you've been working at the same place for a long time and a payment increase is well overdue. In this case, a very good idea would be to keep yourself up to date as to what the salary is in your field. You can start out by talking about your salaries with your coworkers. That can be a very good point. But the most important thing here is to never stop looking for other jobs or better opportunities until you get to your dream job. And maybe even then it's fine to look every once in a while. But before you get there, you definitely should always be on the market and keep on the lookout. You will find better deals, and even if you don't, being able to walk up to your boss and tell him that, okay, you've been really looking around and other companies for the same job would offer me 10% more, so I really don't want to leave. I really love my job here, but it's really tempting with that money. Can we make some kind of an arrangement? And most of the time, especially if you do a good enough job at your place, your boss will say yes, and your salary will increase. And even if not, you can just actually decide whether you want to stay anyway because you like the environment and the place, or jump ship and take the other opportunity you already have, so you weren't bluffing about it. That's very key. The last step is to basically just work hard and keep focusing on your little company ladder you've set up for yourself. And as we've already established, you're always on the lookout. You should always look out for the next step for you. So for instance, let's say they ask for 6 years of experience. Don't be shy to submit your application even though you only have 3 or 4. If they can see that you have the necessary tenacity in you, you have the energy, you've put in the extra hours at work and outside of work, like as I recommended, you would do the next level of job even as a hobby, or it's something that really interests you and you can show them your passion, there's a very good chance that they will actually hire you even though you don't yet fulfill their requirements. So now that you built up your primary source of income, the next would be to focus on increasing the directions your cash flows in. In other words, create a multiple stream income. This is very important for very simple reasons. It will give you, increased salary, which you can use for whatever you want, but mainly it will give you freedom and safety. As to how, that's very simple. The security part is basically obvious. If something unforeseen happens and you lose your job, then that's a real predicament if you don't have any additional income. In that case, you will have basically 3 solutions. One, you will find whatever job you can get as fast as possible. That works, however, jobs you find in a haste are almost always a downgrade. You will likely be working at a lower salary or at a job that will slow down your progress through your ladder to your dream job. Or if you had been working your dream job, then you may downgrade that, which might be even worse. The next way you can deal with that situation is to have sufficient savings. That's a much better solution because that gives you the time to search for an adequate job as a replacement. However, that has the disadvantage that you are living up your savings, which is fine. That's what they are for. But once you found your next job, you will have to rebuild that savings. Otherwise, your safety net is gone and you lived it up. The third, and I think the best solution, is to have the multiple streams of income built up. In that case, if you lose your primary source, you will still have enough income to get by until you find your next job. Hopefully while keeping the spending from your savings to a minimum. As for freedom, if you have a very low effort work or side project that earns you money, like an investment or some kind of a deal, like renting out houses, that can very easily earn you enough money to eventually take over your primary salary, and in which case it will free you up to just quit working if you so desire, and you will have the extra 8 hour of the day you can spend on basically whatever you want. These other revenues may come from investment, which we will talk a lot about on this channel. They can come from some kind of a side project like blogging or YouTube or selling your designed mugs online. They can come from you freelancing the job you actually do, working on them outside of work hours, or they can be outright just a second job. As for the last one, I would not recommend it unless you really need the money, because working 2 jobs at the same time will pretty much tie you down completely. And unless you can save enough money so that through investment and other projects, low effort projects, because you won't have any energy and time for anything more intensive. Yeah, so unless you can build up a really big investment portfolio through those 2 jobs, you will be in work hell throughout your whole life. And that's something I would not recommend unless you absolutely have to. Finally, the last step, or more like my cop-out answer that I advertised at the beginning of the video, will be to decrease your expenses. The reason I call it a cop-out because it doesn't actually increase your income in a very strict sense, but do hear me out. By decreasing your expenses, you're basically freeing up money you would normally just waste. And by investing that money, you will make sure that that $10 to $20 you won't spend on a new shoe will be worth $40, $50 in a few years' time, which can really add up if you can save hundreds of dollars every month. You will end up with quite a sufficient savings actually, just by putting just an extra $100 away into an investment, whatever that investment will be. We'll talk about possible investment solutions later on during this series. Hopefully this was useful to you in some way and you can implement some of these things you've learned today into your life and will help you in your upward mobility and increasing your income. For next week we will be talking about the miracle that is compounded interest and how it can basically ruin or make our lives incredibly simple. Don't worry, I will try to keep the math to the minimum. And so like and subscribe, it really helps. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.